So I want to talk to you tonight about if life suddenly called your name, if this dream that you have for your life, this vision for what your purpose is, for what your calling is, for what you're capable of, for what your full-blown potential is, if you suddenly got called to show up fully right now, today, tonight, would you be ready? Would you? Or, okay, do you have a vision for what you really desire in your life, like as your soul mission, but you're feeling really stuck? Because honestly, there's nothing worse than feeling like you're meant for something more, but you can't figure out what it is. You can't put your finger on it, and you can't move because you're stuck. That is so frustrating. Now, that can fall into a couple of categories. Sometimes you're just in this holding pattern. I was there for years where I was waiting for my real life to begin. And I wasn't really taking a whole hell of a lot of action on making anything happen. Now, what's interesting is looking back at that time when I was an actress, I went to acting school in New York City. I mean, I acted my whole life from childhood, like from early childhood. And then in my 20s, I moved to Manhattan and I went to acting school, like a renowned acting school with like a name brand acting teacher. And then I started auditioning sort of haphazardly, not consistently. That's the honest truth, right? And that's the place I want you to be honest with yourself, right? I mean, like at a certain point, like, are you preparing to be ready to be called, or are you waiting for your real life to start? Because I was in that position for years where I was waiting to get discovered. It hurts to admit it. It hurts, right? And the truth, when you get yourself to the place of like, okay, what's true for me about my calling or my vision for my life? Like, where do I want to be most creative? Where do I hope I'm going to be called to show up? Are you taking action to get yourself there, or are you just kind of waiting for life to hand you something? And that was a very small town attitude of mine. Like, I had grown up being a dancer and an actor in a very small town here in upstate New York. And so whenever I did a performance, it was kind of a big deal, like, ooh, who's she, right? Very exciting. I get to Manhattan and I'm nobody, right? So to be honest, I had to create a little bit of an attitude adjustment. And when I started putting myself out there, things started happening, but I kept having this feeling like I was waiting for life to hand me something. Now, life will hand you something, but there's some caveats here. Two things. One, you might not be having anything happen. Life might not be offering you anything because you're waiting, right? Like it's this passive sort of victim of circumstance stance, or it might just not be your time. So I want you to really get honest here. Lisa, hi Sue, wow, and Melissa. Melissa says, my soul mission was activated today. Talk about a freaking aha moment. Ooh, Melissa, I can't wait to hear more. Now, Melissa is also in my private Facebook group. If you feel interested, there is a free Facebook group that I run. If it feels like it's right for you, come check it out. It's called the Rule Breakers Freedom Forum, and it's a place where we can let it all hang out. There's men, there's women, and there are conversations that are really raw and really real. So if you feel called, feel free to send a request to join, and if it's a good fit, I will let you into the group. But okay, so if you got called up on your soul mission today, could you rise to meet the occasion? Or are you waiting for your real life to begin? You're mainly stuck in fantasy. That was me for years. Or are you just in sort of that prep zone? Now, the prep zone is this beautiful, rich place where you feel maybe a little lost, or like you have a lot of interests. The women I work with tend to be what I would just flat out blatantly call the women I work with Renaissance women. And I work with men too, all right, but mainly women. But I will work with anybody who feels called to work with me and you're like ready to go for it in a way that I can help you with. So the people I work with tend to feel called. They tend to feel like there's some kind of a mission that's bigger than their ordinary life circumstances. But they have these places where they get stuck because it looks like everybody else is happy just doing sort of an everyday life thing, and they want something more. So sometimes you can see if you are either just fantasizing about your life vision but not taking action on it, or feeling like you're discounting this big vision that you have for your life because you feel like it's egotistical and arrogant and everybody else seems completely satisfied with their regular lives, but you want something more, but you feel like a jerk because people are struggling to just survive over here, but you are not a survivor, you're a thriver. Listen, meet yourself where you are, okay? This is the beauty of it all. Like, if you're in survival mode, and hell, I have been there, then you meet yourself there, right? I had a major eating disorder. I couldn't like go on my soul mission until I dealt with my eating disorder. And what's interesting is my eating disorder and dealing with it led me to going back to school to be a life coach. And one of the first iterations of my coaching business, which was helping women find freedom from emotional eating, okay? So you have to meet yourself where you are. And if you're in prep mode or in the prep zone, it might look like you're doing stuff that isn't connected to what your real mission is gonna be. I thought I was gonna be an actress forever. I am not remotely interested in acting. I'm really not. I actually just got a message the other day from a director I've worked with before. It was like, do you wanna play a zombie in my upcoming film? I had a lot of fun. I played a CSI agent for him who discovered a dead body. I also got to die. That was fun. They put fake blood in my mouth, and then I got killed from behind and like bit down and like died dramatically. That was really a great experience. But I just was like, it doesn't launch my soul mission. But here's what's interesting. Today was the 5th episode of my brand new radio show. Now, I have this live radio show. It's called The Moment. And we take on like the big questions, like the dark, deep, secret stuff that not everybody is talking about, because I feel like I've always been intrigued by those conversations about spirituality, about the meaning of life, about our wounds. You know, I was a rape crisis counselor and a domestic violence counselor in my early 20s. So I've always been interested in this stuff. And then also as an actress, okay, I don't want to be an actress right now anymore, but exploring all of those characters and how to access your emotions and let yourself experience your emotions. Turns out I was in the prep zone for the work that I'm doing today. The same thing, I was an English major. My undergraduate degree is in literary studies with a minor in cultural studies. And also, I didn't actually get to this point, but it would have almost been a minor in dance if I had continued through with that. So like, I look at the work that I'm doing today and all of that, whether it's dance, which is like physical expression and also emotional release work, or English, which is like reading about the human experience and then also writing about it and trying to like suss out what my perspective is and get in the other person's shoes, or acting, where there's all of this emotional access and I have to really listen to the person that I'm in the scene with. So I'm like really tuned into the moment. All of that seemed like, it's like, am I going to be a movie star? No, apparently that is not what fate had in store for me in this lifetime. But it turns out I felt like a failure. Let me just say this right away. You might be very frustrated because you're feeling like nothing's happening, but you might be if you were actively participating in your life and listening to your soul. You might be in the prep zone, because I ran into someone back in the spring, you know, I think it was Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, it was that recent. Memorial Day weekend, I ran into someone at an event, and it was actually a couple, and they had just come from doing a radio show. And I casually said, by way of making conversation, oh, I've always wanted to be on the radio. That would be so cool. And he said, you should pitch a show to the radio station. I didn't tell anyone at first, but I thought about it, and it felt like a very soul-aligned thing, like, I've got to do this. And that is actually the hallmark of things that are soul-aligned. Sometimes it will be such a strong, powerful feeling that you will be very grounded in it, and you won't even want to talk about it to anyone. Last spring, I taught a class about truth-telling and secrets. And so sometimes the hallmark of something that's really soul-aligned is that you want to kind of incubate it for a little while. And then a few days later, I said to my boyfriend, like, this is what happened, and I think I'm going to pitch the show to the station. I did, And I went in for a meeting. I sat around a table with half a dozen people at the radio station. I want to say executives. And they gave me a radio. So today, oh, my computer's going to die in 9 degrees. I better wrap this up. Hi, Elise, Cindy, Trudy, LeBron is here. Hi there. Dina, now is it Dina or Deanna? You have to answer me this. It's so great to see you all here. Let me wrap it up because I've got like 9 degrees, what is it? Not 9 degrees, 9% left, and I'm gonna run out. Okay, so all those years of acting, teaching English as a second language, waitressing where I'm interacting with people, doing voiceover work, studying English, literature, all of that meant that when they said to me, are you ready to go live on the air? And I had a friend today, she's like, is that radio show actually live? I'm like, yeah, baby, it's live. It is so crazy intense. And today was the first day that I went off script. I didn't write a full-blown script. I improvised into the microphone. And what was interesting was there were 2 things. One of the executives at the radio station today, I said, today was the first day I went off script. I've been like reading a script prior to this. And he was like, you've been reading? All those years of acting prepped me to be able to show up, do a live radio show. It scared the bejesus out of me. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not going to promise you that you will not be scared. But are you soul aligned enough that you are able to follow what's next without knowing for sure if it's going to lead you to your big vision? Because what I have seen is that continuously it will. I have a client who was obsessed with joy. She called it joie. We were joking at a certain point that she wanted to experience the summer of joie, right? The summer of joy. She was a total workaholic, trying to be a good girl, do everything she was supposed to do. And it didn't look like it was leading up to anything. But now, all these years later, she was obsessively looking for her happiness and her joy and feeling like this is like kind of not a big enough object for my life. In fact, I'm hoping to interview her next week on the topic of happiness is a big enough object. Because when you get soul aligned, whatever you feel called to look into, I thought I might be an environmental science major back in college, but literature called my name. I can see now how that led to this life coaching experience that feels like it. And I'm also a writer, and then being on the radio all that time studying acting. So here's the other thing I want to say about the prep zone. You may feel lost, but if you are deeply connected to your soul and your soul is telling you to rest, or maybe you just need to be in the unknown. This client that I was just mentioning who was looking for joy and happiness, we just decided yesterday in a session that she is really a happiness coach. She's no longer a workaholic. She's now traveling the world, designing her own work, spending a lot of time on the beach and a lot of time dancing. She didn't understand why she felt like she was wasting time. Like she should get back to her New York City personality and like get shit done, like be a type A personality. But she kept feeling called to do nothing. And you know what happened? It was so interesting. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, she sent me a message and she said, I feel like I have time. Like I get up, I drink my coconut. She's not in upstate New York right now. Okay. And, then maybe I'll go to a yoga class or a tantra class or like a contact improv class. And then I go to the beach and then I have lunch. And then I have all this spaciousness and time. And she just realized that she's ready to serve. So if you're in the prep zone and you're feeling frustrated and lost, those are actually signs that you're in the prep zone, unless, and here's the piece to pay attention to, unless you're just like waiting. If you're just waiting for your real life to begin and life to deliver something to you, you're not activated. You can look like you're lying on the couch reading magazines and doing absolutely nothing and be activating your soul mission. Okay, so are you in the prep zone? Are you ready to be called? Are you not sure? Are you discounting what you're feeling? Because often when you're on your soul mission, your soul is going to be like, with my client, like, spend time on the beach, break up with your boyfriend, just go relax, just don't worry about it, baby. Like that was the message she was getting from her soul. And she was saying things like, I'm just going to work and work and work and then take a really long vacation. And I remember at one point saying to her, that has a really like binge purge feeling to it. She was like, ugh, you're right. And she described her precrastinator. She's like, I want to get all the work done so that then I can relax. And she had to do this very counterintuitive thing where she instead listened to her desire to relax, got rid of that mental scramble of like type A personality, like you've got to get stuff done, show proof that you're a decent human being, and like be a type A personality like many of us have been in New York City or other big cities or in our culture or in our careers, like a corporate career or motherhood in the United States. There's a very type A professionalism that gets put on that. But, you know, actually that's a great metaphor, maybe not even a metaphor, a great example. Like you're pregnant for 9 months or you're seeking to adopt a child or foster a child for a long time, right? There's usually this process. You're in the prep zone and then all of a sudden you get called. There's a couple in our church who they were like, we want a baby. They couldn't have a child. So they're like, we would like to foster. And they have 3 half-grown kids that they just adopted. And it's beautiful to watch these children blossom and to watch the family really absorb them and take them in. It's just wonderful to see them. And so are you in the prep zone? And if so, are you actively prepping? Are you listening to your soul and following your soul, like your heart's desire? Or do you have some mental plan or some belief system about like, oh, I'm just waiting for my real life to begin? Is there some counterintuitive instinct that you're getting that you're ignoring because it doesn't make sense? Or are you ready to be called? Because once you're ready to be called, you will be called. Ah, it's so exciting. Let me see. Oh, Claudia says she loves my cap. Thank you. Do you like my t-shirt? It says, sorry, I can't. I have plans with my cat. Diana, Stephanie, oh, what a great crowd. Guys, do you have any questions for me? I have 4% left on my computer. Here's what I want to say to you. Trust your soul desires. Even if it looks like you're just supposed to be lying on a beach or resting a lot or doing something that looks completely different than what you think you should be doing. Hi, Rita. Follow that. I can't tell you, like this client of mine who was like, who was totally type A, right? And a total workaholic and really struggling physically and energetically and emotionally with how hard she worked. She would work herself just down and cry. It was terrible. And then she starts like lounging on a beach, taking on no new clients. And all of a sudden she realizes she's a happiness coach and she's now ready to serve and like launch this whole new aspect to her business. It's very thrilling and she's happy. So where are you on this journey? Do you recognize yourself anywhere? Is there anything I can do to help? Sorry, I got distracted. I'm dog sitting and there's a dog. Hey, Claudia, you've been at this house. This is the house my dad built. You've been here. Hopefully someday I'll hold retreats here, but right now I'm just here by myself and I'm about to drink a beer. So let me say cheers to you. I've skinny dipped in the pond. What is it that your soul is asking you to do? It could be something like spend time alone in nature, go into a city to an art museum, follow those tiny little signs and they'll get bigger and bigger and it will lead up to you knowing what your soul calling is and then being called because you're activated, you've been prepping and you're ready to go. So where are you? Are you stuck? You can get unstuck. All right, gang. I'm signing off. I'm at 3% battery. I don't have my charger here. Lots of love to you. You know what? I want to say this. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about, send me a message or comment, okay? I'd be so interested to hear what you would like me to speak to.